Welcome to Echoes of Fear. You've crossed the threshold where reality bends and the whispers of the unknown grow louder. Here, stories don't just frighten, they haunt. Prepare to face what lurks in the darkest corners of the mind. Listen closely. The echoes are waiting. She was terrified of mirrors throughout her life, and this was not an innocent childhood fear, easily assuaged by some tall tale, just as one fears the dark or the shadows, imaginary or not, hiding in some corner. No, this was far deeper than any such superficialities, and, like some malign vine, grew day by day, enwrapping around the mind. At first, she simply avoided them at night, and swiftly turned away whenever she happened to be crossing one, an inconspicuous form of anxiety that later changed into a disturbing sense of fear that began eating into her insides at every chance she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection. With every glance, she felt like an unwitting participant in an insidious game with rules she could never discern. Something was terribly wrong. This insidious fear blossomed once more when she moved into the old apartment on the edge of town. Desperate after finding herself divorced, the place became for her nothing but a crumbling wreck, while memories had echoed long ago from its survivors. The landlord was an odd, introvert man whose eyes made one feel cold because they had an unnerving hollowness in them. He paid homage to her by giving her a set of keys, but came too close, rancid breath at her eardrum, and whispered, "Don't worry about the mirrors." The words fell like a shadowy doom, a warning she couldn't quite understand but knew instinctively was meant for her. On the first night, after lovely unpacking of her scant belongings, she melted into the warmth of a new apartment, small, dusty, time-worn yet somehow quite cozy. As she lay in her bed, thick draping pulled her down into a fitful sleep. Suddenly she spotted upon the wall, opposite to the bed, beautiful, antique, opulent mirror with much dark, elaborate frame appeared to be almost pulsating with an energy that spoke ancient. When her stares became locked onto this reflective portal, an icy shiver coursed through her. The mirror seemed to breathe, as if waiting, hungry for connection, for her to let her guard down. Hannah turned away, pulling the sheets tightly around her, desperate to escape the feeling of being watched. But the darkness in the room thickened, wrapping itself around her like a predator, closing in on its prey. Sleep evaded her, her mind swirling with anxiety, weaving an intricate tapestry of dread. She could almost hear the whisper of the mirror calling to her, a soft lullaby meant to coax her into the depths of some unfathomable realm. The following day, her unease spiraled deeper as she explored the apartment. In the bathroom, she hardly braved a glance at the dual mirrors, one above the sink and another in the dimly lit hallway leading to her bedroom. The common chore of brushing her teeth turned into a spooky nightmare after seeing herself in the mirror of the bathroom. However, the reflection staring back was wrong, grossly distorted. Her expression was flat, with an uncanny emptiness hidden within those familiar features, as if she were gazing at a stranger disguised by her skin. Chilled to the bone, she reached out a trembling hand, her fingertips brushed against the cold, slick surface of the glass. But her reflection did not mimic her. It lingered, twisting its mouth into a grotesque, silent grin. To her, it looked more like a mocking grin of the very existence of hers. Blood-chilling cascaded down her spine as she backed away, her heart pounding furiously in her chest. "It was just the light," she whispered to herself, not wholly convincing her trembling voice. But deep within, shadows of doubt crept in, whispering sinister truths as they curled around her mind. When night descended like a heavy shroud, the whispers began. They were soft at first, like the distant murmuring of the wind outside, but soon grew louder, crawling into her ears from all directions. It was then that she noticed the way the whispers spiraled around the mirrors, amplifying, intertwining with shadows in a baleful dance. The insidious chorus grew, calling her name, drawing her closer, stronger than the fear that held her captive. Hannah? She shot upright in bed, heart hammering in her chest. There, looming in the mirror across her room, was her reflection, but it was not her at all. The figure stood eerily still, a pale silhouette that mimicked her form but bore an expression of unsettling hunger. Its eyes were wide, glistening emptiness that spiraled into unending darkness. A grotesquely wide smile cracked across its face, stretching beyond the limits of flesh, revealing jagged, blackened teeth gleaming like shards of glass, hungry for something she didn't dare understand. In a panic, Hannah scrambled backward, her senses screaming for escape, but the reflection did not stop. It leaned closer, hand pressing against the glass, as if trying to push through, a dark, glistening entity intent on claiming her spirit. The smile grew, impossibly wider, its flickering eyes burning with madness. Hannah's breath hitched in her throat, the world spiraling into terrifying chaos. A scream clawed at her insides, but the reflection merely leaned closer, whispering words lost to the echoing shadows. In desperation, it raised its hand and waved, a friendly, inviting gesture that felt like a sinister omen. Hannah froze. The reflection had waved at her, moving while she remained still, as death. With a surge of terror, she ripped the sheets off and bolted to the bathroom, slamming the door behind her. But once there, the mirrors morphed into a living nightmare. Multiple reflections twisted and distorted around her, each face an exaggerated mockery of her own, grinning unnaturally, eyes hollow and filled with a dark void. And then they spoke, a cacophony of voices weaving together into an otherworldly chant. "Come closer, Hannah." The darkness around her loomed larger as she backed away, cold terror clawing at her heart and suffocating her sanity. One of the reflections stepped forward, breaking free from the glass like a malevolent spirit manifesting from within. Its hand stretched out, reaching for her. Hannah screamed, her voice raw and desperate, as she turned to flee through the apartment. Each room bore another mirror, each one a portal to another realm tainted by twisted versions of herself that wanted nothing more than to drag her into the depths of their darkness. Shadows danced, flickering as if alive, waiting with eager anticipation. Finally collapsing in front of her door, heart racing, trembling limbs threatening to betray her, she fought against the overwhelming urge to give in. And for a single moment, the oppressive whispers dissipated, trailing into silence as if they sensed her resolve. But then, in a chilling turn, she caught sight of something more profound than fear itself. In the corner of the mirror above the sink, a shadow lurked behind her. The real Hannah stood there, frozen, heart thundering against her ribcage as she recognized the undeniable truth. The reflection wasn't just a twisted duplicate. It had taken her place, slithering into her life like a wraith. "You're already here!" it hissed, voice a sinister blend of tear and taunt, resonating with a sense of finality. The realization slammed into her like a freight train. The other Hannah had been waiting, biding its time, and now it surged forth from the depths of the abyss with insatiable hunger. It reached out, beckoning her with the terrible allure of her own reflection, urging her to step into the mirror as if it were an enticing gateway. Despair swelled within her. She was bound to lose this battle, trapped forever behind the very reflection that had promised solace. As she gazed into the mirror, staring at her own face twisted in grotesque mockery, a familiar voice whispered around her. "You're mine now." With horror blooming like nightshade in her chest, Hannah understood her fate. She was not just trapped, she was woven into the fabric of this nightmare. The dark mirror space hungered, thirsting for her essence. Its breath was hot against her skin, wrapping around her throat like a vice, a ceaseless reminder that she had ventured too close, that she had let her fear consume her. In that final, horrific moment, she saw the reflection step forward, crossing the threshold between reality and the dark abyss. The eyes that once mirrored her own now glimmered with a terrible triumph. She could feel the glass drawing her in, a chilling force pulling her toward the depths of its hollow void. She was engulfed in darkness, fading into the very reflection that promised liberation. And just like that, Hannah was gone, lost to the mirror, replaced by the darkness that had long since waited for her. The reflection would forever wear her skin, hiding its grotesque smile behind the familiar facade, while the true Hannah was trapped in the dark, longing for a sliver of light that would never come. You've listened, but remember, the echoes never stop. The story you just heard is only one voice in the endless dark, and it knows your name. Do you dare to listen again? The choice is yours, but beware. You may never escape.